Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of A Stroke of Good Misfortunes. I'm Mark Zachary. I had a stroke in September of 21, and man, we've been through a lot. But this podcast was um, put together to introduce you in case you or somebody in your family is going through this. I just wanted to kind of document my journey and document the people that I have met along the way. And man, it's a horrible thing to happen, but had it not happened, as I said in previous episodes, had I not had this stroke, I would not have met some of the most incredible people I've ever met in my life. And today I have Shekya. And Shekya, thank you so much for joining us. And we're looking forward to hearing your story and why you do what you do. So thanks for your time today.
It's my pleasure, and thank you for having me on.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So Shekya, you know, I'm trying to do this in like a sequential deal
Uh-huh.
where I talk about the people or interview the people that were in the hospital and then they were or in intensive care and then critical care and the things that those people are responsible for. And you were in the critical care after I guess it was determined I was actually going to make it. I moved to critical care and and you took over for me there and we've gone to church together and man I just appreciate your friendship. But walk me through what's your title, what you do, and then I'm going to ask some questions from that.
So I'm an occupational therapy assistant, which is so what we do is like the occupational therapist would be the one to go in and do the first visit, and they do the evaluation. And then after that, they put up a whole line of treatment. They tell us everything about you that we need to know during our session. And so then what I'll go and do is that I'll go and look at what goals you have for what are set out from the OT, and then I'll do the actual treatments.
Okay, okay. Well, what
And
what
it's based
goals?
around their goals.
Okay, so the OT comes in and evaluates and says, okay, our goal is to get him out of the bed or whatever it is, and then you come up with a plan to do to get those goals done, or work real closely with the OT or PT.
So after that, I don't talk much to the OT unless there's an issue or a or you're making like so much progress that you've met the goals. So they'll have the goals and then I'll figure out a way to get you there. So like my treatment plan is based, it's like evidence based, and I'm like, okay, like if they want you to walk to the bathroom or start to transfer, I'm like, okay, like what's the safest transfer for him to do at this time? Like or so my first initial thought is like, okay, what's the safest thing, like what we can do? And then I'll start getting you up, and I know that like you had a lot of dizziness and stuff, so at certain times I feel like, oh, it's not safe to get him up yet, like to stand, but to like get you up from the bed like we always did, something like that. And
Yeah.
then whatever else, then we do like activities of daily living, which include grooming, dressing, bathing, toileting. uh so we do that, and then so I just try and figure out ways to like help you live your new normal.
Yeah, and by the way, I forgot to say this at the beginning. I give full authority for you guys to talk about whatever you want to talk about with my case. I know you have your laws and privacy laws, and I do too in the mortgage business, and we can't talk about certain things to other people. But I just want this to be a help to somebody that may be going through this or may go through this in the future. So yeah, you judge what you think you can say without getting in hot water with anybody. But I'm giving you full authority to talk about my case, and you can take your liberty, however you want to. So I forgot to say that at the beginning.
Okay, thank you
So
for that.
yeah, I know my sister is a nurse up in the Fort Worth area, and they're and my daughter's a PA, so they're paranoid about all the privacy that that
Yeah,
protects the patient. So
correct.
okay, so you went a little bit into what you do. Uh, when I first one of the first things I remember about being in the critical care unit is I had this big brace on here that said fall risk, and I guess that is something you do to say, hey, he is dizzy and he doesn't have still any mobility in his right leg, so he's going to fall if he tries to stand up, right?
On your own, yeah. So what we do is we try and figure out ways to like help better manage that situation so you are safe whenever you're getting up. And so we just try and like train you to participate in your everyday activities again. And if we have to think of like new ways to do that, just so you can be functional.
Yeah. So, what made you get into this, Shakia? What's did something happen in your family that you? Because I've interviewed several now, and
Uh-huh.
sometimes that is something had happened to their family member, and they said, I'm gonna make that my career choice." Was that your situation, or you just always want to do this from the beginning?
No, it was a little accidental finding. Actually, I used to be in apartment management before, and then I knew I wanted to be like in the healthcare field. So, like anyone else who doesn't know the journey or the how broad the medical field is, I started off. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna be a nurse, of course, right?
Yeah,
And so then after that, I was like, no, I don't want to do that. And then so we had to like delve into a little bit of research. And then I was like, okay, then I'm gonna do nuclear medicine or sonography or all this stuff, right?
yeah,
Well, one day, like so back whenever I was going back to school, I went to Houston Community College and I have an associate's degree, but they used to have this huge catalog of everything that they offer at the school. So then I just like one day got it and I went to the health profession section and I just read everything that they had to offer. And
yeah.
then at the time from the writings I couldn't tell the difference between a PT assistant and an OT assistant. So I just went and I just called like a hospital and I was like, "Hey, can I set up some observation with one of your occupational therapists or therapy assistants?" And they said yes. I forgot what the hospital was called at the time. I think it was like St. Christus. I went there and I was like, "Okay, this is okay." But then I actually went to the VA and I observed there, and then that's when I knew. I said, "Oh, this is it right here." So it was really the VA who made me love occupational therapy.
Really.
Hmm.
So how long have you been doing it?
So it's been a total of hold on, let me count. This will be my 8th year.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
do
so this
you?
is a second career for me.
Yeah. So property management before, and yeah, there's not any connection at all between those two fields, is there?
Nope. I guess during that time I just got tired of like going from apartment to apartment to apartment, because like whenever you finished that job, I guess like or they got bought out by another company, then you'd have to look for a job. And I was like, okay, I'm already tired of this, like the instability of that. So I
Yeah.
knew that I wanted to do something in healthcare. And then whenever I went to the VA and I did my observation or volunteer or whatever, I was like, oh yeah, this is it for sure.
Wow. And man, what a difference you make. You're great at
Thank
what
you.
you do. And I tell everybody, I said, I hope you never have to go through this, but if you do, I hope you get the team I got. And
Uh,
you were one of the first ones that we met, and I think I was in my days are all jumbled there, and Julie can zero in on how many days I was in each section, but I was in critical care for or intensive care for 3, 4, 5 days, something like that, and
Hmm.
and then over to critical care for another like week, I believe, and then we went to tier from there. Does that,
Oh,
as fast as somebody comes in and goes out of your department, and you overseeing somebody for 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, whatever it is.
mhm.
Obviously, they're only there for a short period of time. Does that pose a level of frustration for you as a professional, getting to work with somebody, but really never knowing what happens to them? Excuse me. Or does people typically stay in touch with you?
Oh, no, 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 no. We don't normally stay in touch. And then also, so in the beginning, I so in the beginning after I graduated, I did pediatrics, and it was an outpatient. So I did some hippotherapy with that. And then after I did pediatrics, um, I came to acute care. And so in the beginning, it did bother me because I wasn't able to follow that person's journey. But now I'm okay with it because so it's like very fast paced and ever changing. So I think I like that change because it doesn't seem so like boring to me. I have to always stay on my toes. I'm always having to meet new people. So I I feel like my on switch is always on. Like it's like always on at work. So it's never a time where I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna sit here. No, I feel like working in acute care. It's like you have to be some type of adrenaline junkie.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what's typical for? Now that may be a crazy question, but is there a typical time frame that they're in your care?
Okay, so I'll tell you that we see anywhere from 8 to 12 patients per day, and whenever I'm in ICU, depending on how critical that patient is. Sometimes they're and I do work in neuro ICU mostly, and so sometimes their stroke does resolve quickly, and they can lead. And if they have, and I'll tell you this, if they have good insurance and their stroke resolves pretty quickly, but they still have some major deficits, we can go ahead and send them to rehab, like an inpatient rehab type, like you said, like Tier, or and there's a few other companies. We try and get them out as long as they're medically stable within like 3 to 5 days, but three is like like the premium. But sometimes they do have to stay longer just to make sure that their blood pressure is okay and everything else is stable with that patient. But that is up to the doctors. So we just continue to work with them until they're discharged.
And do you guys recommend where they should go for their therapy?
Oh,
You mentioned they
so
were
we
back
used
here.
to.
Yeah.
So we used to, but there has been a little bit of a shift to whereas we put the patients now like on a scoring system, and so it depends on what level they're at to say like, okay, that patient's ready to go home, inpatient rehab, or to a skilled nursing facility. And then sometimes if that person like doesn't have any functions coming back at all, they do have to go to depending on if they can wake up. They have this program called Disorders of Consciousness, and then also like that's like the people who are just not waking up, just really not doing too much. So it just depends on that person's level, and also their prior level of functioning.
Okay. I just don't. I don't know what we'd have done if we wouldn't have had. I can't remember how we found out about cheer. I think it was my sister-in-law in Austin, and she said, "Man, you have to get to that place because it is so has such a reputation of being a great
Mhm.
place to go." And so I don't know if you guys mentioned it or it was mentioned from somebody else, but man, my
It probably
purse.
would have been yeah, it probably would have been mentioned from the case management team. Because what we would do is just say, oh yeah, you need like inpatient rehab, but the case managers, they always have to look at insurance to see if your insurance, like if that's under your insurance plan, because some places don't have tier under their guidelines or whatever.
Yeah. Do you guys have a I guess you have the experience of seeing someone that when they get to critical care, and you have just a couple of days to work with them, you have a pretty good idea of how this is going to turn out for the
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes. Some Okay, so I will say that sometimes like we can start seeing like the muscle movement come back, and okay, like sometimes like somebody like their muscle will be firing, so I'm gonna be like, okay, they're gonna have some movement come back. I just don't know how much will come back. And then sometimes I have been completely, I'm talking about completely surprised by some of my patients who I thought, nope, they're not going to be well at all. And then I just remember this one patient, like I was like, this is going to be a bad outcome. And then this particular person, I just remember did not have insurance. So all of their care just came from the hospital, and that particular person was there for a while. So we just did everything for that person, and just to try to get that person rehabilitated as much as possible. And then that patient ended up coming back, like, let's just say like a month or two later, walking, you know by
wow.
himself, everything, like. And I don't even think that person had a cane. He had cooked for the staff, everything,
Oh
and
my
he had brought
gosh.
food. I was like, what? Like, we just couldn't believe it. And this was all before, this was pre-COVID, so this was a while back. um but yeah,
Yeah,
but that is the one patient who totally surprised me, especially just because of like how that person was and didn't really want to participate. And so I just didn't think his recovery was going to go well. And so that's why now, like, I never even think, oh, that person's not going to do well. Oh, this person is. I never even think stuff like that anymore, because that
you just
person,
don't
like,
know.
I'm just like, you're just a walking angel. So that person just showed me what God could do. And it's not about what we think. It's not like, oh no. You know how, like, sometimes, like, you have a preconceived notion on how somebody will be or their outcome.
Right.
I'm just like, yeah, like, God has the last say so.
Yeah, yeah, that's funny how that works. Yeah.
Hmm.
When I was there, um, and when I left there, I don't think. Well, I knew my hand wasn't moving and my arm wasn't moving, because I remember sitting in tear the day that I was able to move my thumb just slightly. I mean, you could barely see it
Hmm.
move, but I saw it move. I knew it. I knew it moved. My therapist knew it moved, and we about had a heart attack right there in the tier gym is what they called it. So, looking back, I probably didn't have much working for me when I left the hospital. I know Kent worked with me on walking, but I had the belt on, and he was moving my right leg while I moved my left, and but
Hmm.
I was able to put my foot on some cones. And so I think the upper leg was firing. That was a term you just used. It was firing. At least that was going on, but I don't think a lot of stuff was working when I left critical care.
Gotcha. So, and I will tell you now, I don't remember every single detail now, because that's
Are
been a
you
while.
serious? You don't remember me? That hurts my
No,
feelings.
no, no. I remember you. I definitely remember you. I just don't remember like all the little fine details anymore.
Yeah,
this
yeah.
this
Well, I
old
think.
brain of mine has been worn down.
Yeah, I think mine. Julie reminds me that you remember things a little different than I remember things. So yeah, it's
Right.
well, you only see 12 to how many? 12 to 18
Eight
patients a day. So
eight to 12, yeah.
8 to 12. So I will forgive you for not knowing the details of a patient that left you a year and a half ago. So no apology needed. So So what are your plans? Do you plan on doing this for forever? Or are you going to go back and get your doctorate and your master's or anything like that? No.
No, it wouldn't be that because I would say this job is incredibly strenuous. It's a lot of physical labor. So I think that I would either stay in this let me see. Let's see. I don't, to be honest, I haven't really thought about that much.
Yeah.
If I can't find something like work from home, I think that this would probably be like where I would want to stay. Maybe just get a few more certifications and like some neuro
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah.
Just to really fine tune things,
Yeah.
because I don't know everything. I love to learn, and I love to. And then what I love most is like if I learn it, then I can put it into action like immediately. Because if I don't, then I'll forget.
Well, you just brought up a question. Do you have to do CE that teaches you new ways of doing things, and maybe some things that they have discovered that needs to be taught? Do you guys have to do that on a yearly basis?
So we have to do CEUs every 2 years, but some stuff like we pretty much already know, but it's just like something to jog your memory.
Okay.
And
Okay.
yeah, so it's not necessarily, but in the classes that I try and take things that I'm interested in or things that help me on my job. So some educations that I take have nothing to do with my actual job. Like I'm still interested in some stuff in pediatrics, so I'll take some pediatrics type classes. So just
Well,
because
what are you doing? So I don't forget this question. In pediatric, what are you working on with them? I mean, this is therapy. How can you how what do you show them, or what are they struggling with that you have to get involved?
So I don't work with pediatrics now, but I used
Yeah.
to. And
Hmm.
and at that time I worked with children who had profound deficits. A few of my clients then they had cerebral palsy, some had Down syndrome, some had autism. Autism is a big one nowadays. And then, some had it's one called Willie Protter,
Hmm.
and then let me see what else. I know. So for me, I know that cerebral palsy and autism were the largest two of the population of the
Okay.
diagnosis. But like we did have some more rare things. We did have a few children who had like traumatic brain injuries and stuff. So just all of that stuff, and so with the children who were born with their diagnosis. We just try and get them independent. A lot of those kids were school aged, so I would work with them like trying like to hold a pencil, and so maybe sometimes for like a whole 3 months, like that would be our primary thing was just to hold a pencil so they can begin to try and write a letter. And maybe some of them would only be able to write the first letter of their name only, but we will work on that every single time that they came to clinic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, and this was an outpatient setting, so I didn't really work on like dressing and stuff like that. But I would just work on them like navigating their environment, making sure that they're feeding themselves. And sometimes it got pretty messy, but I wouldn't be the one to feed them. Like if they wanted their snack for the day, they would have to feed themselves. So
Yeah.
we worked on that with them using their utensils and, being able to bring it to their mouth just so they can like have some type of independence.
Yeah. Oh man, that would be a tough to deal with the kids that maybe were born that way. I just don't know if I would have the mental strength to deal with seeing that every day. When I was out at Tier in the Woodlands, I've heard people say, "Well, I don't like to go to therapy because all you do is see people struggling and trying to walk, trying to talk, trying to do everything." I looked at it a little bit different. I saw some people that were very motivating to me. I met this guy, this little kid. His name was Zach, and he was like 4 or 5 years old, maybe six, and he had had both legs amputated at the
Mm,
thigh, and he was learning to walk with these. He had these that hook that they wear from time to time. Well, he was learning to get out of the hook and actually put shoes on, prosthetic leg, and with regular shoes. And I said, "Man, you just inspire me because he was just, hey, this is my lot in life, and I'm gonna make the best out of it."
mm,
Um, and man, he just we wobbling across the floor, and it just wasn't even any big deal to him. It was just like, this is what I'm gonna have to deal with, so I might as well, get the right attitude about it. And but anyway, you look at all the things that you're going through or trying to go through, and you realize that, hey, I'm not quite as bad as that guy. I don't have a severed spine like that guy does. So I always try to find the positive in my therapy sessions, because I think there's always somebody worse off than you.
right. So I will say this though. One thing about the children who are born with certain diagnoses, those are some of the happiest people you will ever meet in your life because they don't know any different. That's their world.
Right.
And they would always come into clinic with a smile and like they were just like so delightful. The people who have the hardest time are the people who did not have any type of disability or anything and they're just independent in all their aspects of their life, and then they come in and they have a major incident happen and now they're disabled. They can't even go to the toilet on their own. They can't even get out of the bed on their own. That to me is a lot more mentally draining for myself when I see all the emotions that those people go through. With the children that I worked with, it wasn't like that at all. They were always happy. So because whenever you work with children, it's all about play. You know what I'm saying? It's mostly playing. So they're actually having a good time,
Yeah.
because children's ADL one of them is play. So that's their motivation. They know that they work hard and they get to play and it's fun for them.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
adults, it's work. It's work the whole
Yeah.
time you're in there with them. So it's different.
Yeah, that is so true. I mean, because I came in, and I've been independent all my life, and
Right.
to all of a sudden have to depend on people like Shekya to change my shirt and help me get dressed, help me, go to the restroom, go. It man, it really it knocks you for a loop mentally.
Yeah.
Like, is this going to be? Because I was 54 when it happened, and I plan
Mm.
on living another 54. So I didn't. I was like, am I going to have to do this for 54 more years? And that was probably the toughest thing to get through, and I still get have issues with it. Like, man, is this as good as it's gonna get? And
Mhm.
you just have to I just say focus on what's going right. And my therapists are so good at, hey, Mark, you made this progression this session, and they may be little, but they're still happening. And I guess that's the main thing is we'll keep working and keep working as long as these things keep happening. You have something to look forward to.
Right, yeah. And you just always have to try and focus on the positives. Like let let's just say even if like you've had a lot of progress since I've seen you, of course, because I was knocked on the floor when I seen you at church and you were standing there, you were irritated because you had to be in line and then you saw us and your face just lit up. So I I was like, oh my gosh, I was just so happy. Like the tears were flowing and everything. But I knew I was gonna cry though because I'm very emotional anyway. So I already knew I was gonna cry. I was just like, don't cry before though, because people are gonna think you're a crazy person walking into
Yeah.
church and just crying.
Yeah,
So,
I know. That was a great day, and the story behind that is, I told Kent, we were talking about our church was really close to the hospital, and I said you ought to visit there, and he goes, I will go there when you can walk me to my seat, because I used to be an usher at a previous,
mhm.
and so yeah, I was we had gone back to church, and I was on the cane, and I was up by the front door, and Julie said, "Hey, come back here." She called me on my phone, "Come back here." And like, I have to walk all the way back. So I walk around that corner, and there's Shekya, there's Kent, there's Kylie,
Kylie
and her
and Sarah.
husband. And it was like, oh my gosh, here's my family from months ago. And I got to walk all of them to their seat, dead center, because I'm such a good usher, dead center. I think it was Easter Sunday. Wasn't Easter Sunday?
Uh, I don't remember. I don't think so.
Okay,
I don't think it
maybe
was.
not.
I mean, it could have been, but I don't think it
Yeah,
was.
yeah. So I think we were all crying at that point. Just the fact that I think probably one of the last times you had seen me, I was being wheeled out on a stretcher, and
Right.
yeah, there were some pretty amazing strides that we made while we were at Tier. But if we wouldn't have had the good training to get us off the mat at Memorial, who knows how it all would have turned out. So, well, I tell you what, it's I want to ask a couple of more questions real quick, and then
Sure.
I'm going to let you to go, because I know it's Saturday morning, and I'm taking up your family time, and I don't mean to do that, but I'm glad
No,
I'm
it's
doing.
okay.
So make sure can you make sure and tell everybody what is the main difference between OT and PT, and what you guys focus on, and what a PT person would focus on, and kind of walk us through that.
So with physical therapy, they mainly work on gait and ambulation type training. So how you walk, the way you walk, and the way you get to and from your destination. And then for us, we mainly focus on activities of daily living, which are grooming, dressing, bathing, toileting. Also, we work on like IADLs for people who have like individual type stuff that they do. Like maybe some people have a pet or they do childcare. Like that's also like individualized to that person. And then we also work on cognition type things. So sometimes we do cross over into the realm of PT because we still have to ambulate patients. But what we're doing is just like a functional ambulation and to make sure that they can get to their destination safely. Make sure, oh, if this person goes to the grocery store, like they can walk around safely. And so we have done sessions where we have had to go to the grocery store with patients and
You
like just
physically go
go.
with them?
So not in this setting. That would be like an outpatient type thing or like a
Okay.
home health type thing. Yeah. So yeah, we've had to do that, and then like some therapists they work with patients who have cognitive and mental disabilities. So they have to teach them how to live in their community. So we do
So,
like functional stuff for the patients.
okay. When I was in Tier, I was trying to think here. Yeah, it was Tier, um, and Tier in the Woodlands. They would read me, a long paragraph of this or that, and then make me repeat as much of the details as I could back to them. That is
Hmm.
part of speech. Is that correct? The speech
Um,
therapy.
so speech or and then that's where speech and OT crossover because we both can work on cognition.
Okay.
What
Okay.
we try and do is more like functional cognition. So like So just this week, I worked on a patient who owned their own business, and so I was teaching them how to write checks again.
Mm,
Um, I was teaching them. I had to teach them like safety things. So we had like flashcards, and one would be the wrong way to do something, and one would be the right way. So that person, because they were going home, they had to like pick out things for home safety, which was safe, which wasn't. So
yeah.
because that, we had to make sure that they knew the difference because that particular person couldn't speak.
Yeah, that was that was pretty challenging and frustrating all at one time because
Hmm.
I remember doing the flashcards. I remember having to repeat as much of the details of a story that they read, and I'm like, why?
You're like,
Why am
why is
I doing
this?
this? I've never been good at this. I wasn't good at this before the stroke. So you're going to make notes that I'm not good at it after the stroke because, they'd go into this big long fishing trip and how many poles this guy had and how many fish he
Hmm.
caught and the types of fish he caught. And I would just say, I just know he went fishing and he caught some fish. And I hire people to know all the details. I've never been good at the details, but so I know what my strength and weaknesses are. But yeah, that was a I don't even know if that could be defined as a fun time. It was very frustrating, but
It's very frustrating. Did you get to cook and stuff whenever you were at your inpatient rehab place over at Tier?
no, we didn't do cooking. Never did do that.
Um, because whenever I was in school, one of my clinical rotations was at an inpatient rehab. It's no longer there, but it was called Quentin Meese, and it was like in the Harris Health System, and
Hmm.
so over there, like, oh, I loved it because it did serve a underserved population,
Hmm.
and so I just loved it over there. Like a lot of our patients, like they were well below the poverty line, and those therapists really had to get creative, during their treatment sessions. But everybody there, like, they had to cook, make sure that they can prepare a meal for themselves.
Well, now
um
that you say
that was
that,
that was one of their things.
we never did the cooking part, but we did the part where I'm learning how to make a sandwich for myself and open a jar and make a peanut butter sandwich or something like that. But we
Oh,
never
okay.
got to the ovens and stoves and things like that. But that was really neat. I'm glad you brought that up because that was really neat to see that because they got that entire setup into your I think it's Woodlands, and it's
Hmm.
like a regular kitchen. They've got cabinets, they've got a refrigerator, and they're teaching people how to navigate through that. And I guess that was one of the most enlightening thing is that man, you guys just think of everything about you know getting back into your world and surviving in your new world. So it's
Yeah.
something I didn't I mean, the driving machines and learning how to drive and how to put the gas and then the brakes on, all that stuff is taught
Yeah.
you.
I
And
will say that like, even though I like the fast pace of acute rehab, I do miss the those other activities, the longer sessions. In inpatient, like, we would teach patients how to wash their clothes, make up their bed. Like, I would, after they would wash their clothes, they would have to fold them the next day because you only have so much time within your session. But I would like put the clothes all, like, dump the basket all over the bed, and then they'd have to pick up the clothes and fold it. And so we'd have to teach them like alternate ways on how to fold their clothes. We'd have to modify the activity so they could, do that again, whether they had to do it one handed or whatever it was for that particular patient.
yeah, wow. Well, I could go on for another hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, all Saturday afternoon talking to you, and that's the case with just about everybody I've met along the way. But I know you got your family, and it's we're coming up on 39 minutes. It's
Oh,
amazing
okay.
how fast it goes, and but we would love to have you back if you would accept that invitation, we will definitely invite you back. I'd love to hear more.
Oh, thank you so much. Just let me know, okay?
Well, we certainly will, and thank you so much for your time today. And it's very enlightening on what all you guys do, and y'all are special people.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for having me on, okay?
Yeah, you bet. All right,
All right.
everybody, that's it for this week's episode of A Stroke of Good Misfortunes. If I can answer any questions for you or be an encouragement to you by calling someone, don't hesitate to call and reach out, and I'd be glad to do that. So until next time, we'll see you on A Stroke of Good Misfortunes. Take care.
All right. Thank you.